Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. It's a matter of great pleasure and honor for me to introduce Dr. Omar Hasan Kasule. Dr. Kasule used to come to our Dawa Academy, International Islamic University in Islamabad in our international training programs. So it's a matter of great pleasure, especially for me, to hear and see him once again. I hope we will enjoy his lecture and benefit from his uh, vast experience in the field of medical science, in the field of training and our work. Uh, Dr. Omar Kasule graduated from Makerere Medical School and subsequently obtained his postgraduate training in public health, including a doctorate in epidemiology from Harvard University. Additionally, Dr. Kasule had obtained a certification in Arabic and Islamic studies from Bilal Institute from 1987 to 1985. Dr. Kasule worked in USA involved in managing development projects involving education and health in North America and Caribbean and clinical epidemiology as a quality assurance consultant in several states in USA. After working in USA, Dr. Kasule accepted a position at International Islamic University in Malaysia in 1985 to 2005, where from he held the appointments of Professor of Medicine, Deputy Dean for Research and Postgraduate, Founding Chief Editor of International Medical Journal. 2005 to 2008, Dr. Kasule was a professor on the Faculty of Medicine of the University of Brunei, where he taught undergraduate and postgraduate courses and on epidemiology, biostatistics, and medical ethics. He has been at the Saudi Ministry of Health since 2009, holding positions of Professor of Epidemiology and Bioethics and Head of International Collaboration of Faculty of Medicine. Chairman of the Institutional Review Board and Ethics Committee at the King Fahd Medical City and a member of the Scientific Advisory Board of the Ministry. Dr. Kasule is a consultant for many hospitals and faculties of medicine in Southeast Asia and Western Asia regions on Islamic medicine and integration of Islam in medical practice. And teaching Professor Kasule has been involved in the field of epistemological and knowledge integration starting in 1970s when he worked on integration value in school curricula in Africa, the Caribbean, Europe, and North America. He then worked on integration of values in leadership and management training starting in 1989. Since 2005, Dr. Kasule has held important roles and of bioethicist in various committees, teaching positions from his respective previous appointments in Malaysia and Brunei universities. At present, he is the chairman of Institutional Review Board, Research Ethics Committee, and chairman of the Ethics Committee at King Fahd Medical City since 2010. He serves the following committee: Research Council, Research Advisory Committee, Quality Control, Patient Affairs Committee, and Executive Council of the Faculty of Medicine. He is also a member of ad hoc research committee of the Ministry of Health and teaches research ethics and research methods at ministry organized workshops throughout the kingdom. His writings on these disciplines can be accessed on umarkasule.tripod.com. I invite Dr. Kasule to please deliver his lecture on the topic, and the participants of this international seminar is anxiously waiting for his valuable knowledge and experience. Jazakumullah. Please, Dr. Omar Hasan Kasule.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أدى الأمانة وبلغ الرسالة ونصح الأمة وجهد في سبيل الله حق جهاد جزاه الله عنا أوفر الجزاء. Sisters and brothers, it's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon to discuss the issue of integration of knowledge. If I can be allowed to share, I will show my slides that will guide me in making my presentation. The main thesis of my presentation is that integration of knowledge is an imperative dictated by Aqidat Tawhid, because Tawhid is about integration, and this translates into integration of knowledge. Now, I will start by explaining the concept of Tawhid al-Rububiyyah, the oneness of the Creator. This concept is the center of Islam as a religion and also as a civilization. There is only one Creator for everything in the world and the whole cosmos. Now, since there is only one Creator of the universe and all its contents, this equals that the universe is integrated because everything comes from one place. And actually, that's the basis for integration in Islam, for Islam being a comprehensive religion. And that's the basis why we have a problem with various philosophies like secularism that try to separate this thing from that thing. Because as Muslims, we need to look at the whole, integrated, Shumuliyat al-Islam. Now, the concept of Tawhid al-Rububiyyah, that there is one Creator, is not something you learn at school. You know, it's something that's innate. You're born with it. It is part of the knowledge of fitrah, because it's not logical that this universe created itself. You know, auto-creation does not make sense. There must be a creator. If someone tells you that this Mercedes-Benz car created itself, you will tell him to go to a mental hospital. But then how come that people say the same thing about this complex universe, all forms of life, our human body that is so complex, it couldn't create itself. There must be a creator. Well, also the concept of several creators is not logical. As all of you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created all of us, humans and animals and various things, and there are interactions among us. I'll give you the simplest example. You can take blood from a Pakistani patient and put it in an American patient, and he will live. They are different races, different colors. Why? Because the blood, the cells, and its contents are similar. It means the creator of this one also created that one. Another simple example are the viruses and bacteria that attack our bodies and cause disease. When they come into our body, they will find immune mechanisms that fit them and destroy them. So it means the creator of the human body and the creator of the bacterium must be the same. So the idea of several creators also does not hold. That's why the Quran tells us in Surah Al-Anbiya, لو كان فيهما آلهتان لفسدتا. If there were two gods, creators, the heaven and the earth would have been in chaos. Now, the evidence for Tawhid al-Rububiyyah is found in the cosmos, في الآفاق, and in our bodies, في أنفسكم, and scientists can see all of these signs. So this is the concept of Tawhid al-Rububiyyah. I want to elaborate on it more so that we understand it until we come to integration of knowledge. There is one creator who created matter. As you know, our bodies and our universe are made up of energy and matter, and the two do interact. So Allah created all matter and all energy, but also created physical laws. He also created social laws. These are laws that govern the interaction between different types of matter or different types of energy, or between matter and energy. These laws are called as-sunan al-ilahiyya. Why there are these laws? Because everything was created in a deliberate way. Nothing was created by chance. As Quran tells us, Surah Al-Qamar, Inna kullu shay'in khalaqnahu biqadar. So these laws, sunanullah, you find them in the human. Our body has got laws. For example, there are laws that govern the way we swallow food, the way food is digested, the way we void the wastes from our bodies. All of these are fixed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created these laws, and actually we have no control over them. Also, these laws, sunanul kawn, are found in the universe. People who study physics are studying these physical laws. How does electricity relate to magnetism? There is a law that relates to that, was made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All the natural laws are also made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In addition to that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also created laws that govern social relations. Sunanullah fil umam, as we are told in Surah Al-Ahzab. So actually, the purpose of research, whether scientific or social, is to understand the phenomena, physical phenomena and social phenomena, and also understand the laws that govern the way they interact with one another. And then, these are the laws of causality, because causality means how does this result into that. So science is a study of causality, called the sababiyya in Arabic. And the purpose of science and technology actually is to manipulate these laws, these relationships, either to bring benefit or to prevent harm. So this Tawhid al-Rububiyyah, we have so far said, everything was created, and also created were the laws that govern the interaction among things. So this contributes to the integration picture that we are building up. Now, I said that physical laws are fixed. A lot of times we humans, we are very proud that I'm in charge of my life. You are in charge of nothing. You really control very little of your life, because most of your life is controlled by Allah's laws. For example, when you swallow the food, the moment you put food and it goes behind your tongue, you have no control. It will go down the gullet to the stomach, will be digested, will be absorbed. You have no control. You don't even know what is happening to it. So as humans, our control of our bodies is actually very limited. Our brain is working all the time. Our intestine is working. The liver is working. We are not even conscious of what is going on because they follow the physical laws that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fixed and made for them. The law of gravity in physics, for example, is a fixed law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that anything with mass will fall towards the center of the earth. It's a physical, it's fixed. If you don't want to accept gravity, go on top of a high building and jump upwards. You will see what will happen to you. The laws of motion, Newton's laws of motion, and all the equations that describe centrifugal, centripetal movements are all laws that Allah created and they are fixed. Einstein's universal theory, again, is another example of this integration. You see, it's a theory that tries to integrate matter and energy into one explanation. And it shows that, again, things were created and they are fixed. The Quran talks about this creation and fixation of the laws that govern the interaction among different bodies when it talks about وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي مُسْتَقَرٍّ لَهَا ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ, that the sun moves in a fixed way. وَالْقَمَرَ قَدَّرْنَاهَا مَنَازِلَ حَتَّى عَادَ كَالْعُرْجُونِ الْقَدِيمِ. Again, the moon moves through various positions. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. He talks about all of these cosmic bodies moving in the cosmos in a fixed, organized way. He also talks about day and night. It's all fixed, the way things move. So we know that Allah's physical laws are fixed. But also Allah has social laws because Allah created us and created emotions and drives in us so that we can live in society. He also has got fixed laws for running society. And that's what the Quran and Hadith came to do. They teach us to follow those laws. If we follow the correct laws of marriage, of interaction, of family, we'll be happy. When we do not follow them, that's when we get into social problems. Quran talks about sunnat man qad arsalna qablak wala tajli sunnatillahi tahwila, that there are sunan or laws that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made from previous communities and they do not change, they are fixed. Sunnatullah fi alladhina khalaw min qabl walan tajid li sunnatillahi tabdila. You cannot find changes in those laws or sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَحْوِيلًا. in Surah Fatir, you cannot find a change or deviation in the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for society. So those are also fixed to a large extent. So now we see there is creation, and then there are laws that define the interactions among the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and those laws are fixed. That's the basis of integration, because we make sure that things move in a certain integrated way. Now, we also know that changes occur, like we grow older. I'm sure if those of you who saw me when I first came to Pakistan don't recognize me, because over several years, I have changed. We change. Everything changes. Now, and change is a constant law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the change also follows laws. The laws of change are fixed. Quran tells us about communities, social change. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah cannot change a community unless itself changes. So problems occur when communities transgress. So that's a law about change. Now, everything changes with time. People change, governments change, states change. وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ, as we know in Surah Al-Imran. Then there is this very important law of change, the law of action and reaction, which prevents corruption by keeping balance. Because whenever things go too far in one direction, there's going to be a reaction to bring them back towards the center. They go too far in the other direction, there will be a reaction to bring them back to the center. That is called Sunnatul Tadafu, the law of action and reaction. As Quran tells us, وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ النَّاسِ بَعْضُهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ لَفَسَدَتِ الْأَرْضِ. That's in Surah Al-Baqarah. If there was no this reaction of people against others, the whole world would have been corrupted. When there is too much corruption, there's going to be a reaction against that corruption to bring back Islah and Tajdeed. And that's why Islah, reform, and Tajdeed, renewal, are part of our Islamic civilization. Is from this law of action and reaction. Now, let us move on after elaborating these issues of Tawhid and creation and laying the ground for integration in the creation. We want to move on to talk about integration in knowledge. Knowledge actually is knowing ourselves and what's around us. So if we and what's around us are integrated, the knowledge that enables us to know must also be integrated. That's why I say that Tawhid makes integration of knowledge an imperative. You cannot run away from it. Okay. So all disciplines of knowledge must be integrated because they study phenomena created by the same creator who also created the physical and social laws. So if you want to understand phenomena, you need to understand them in an integrated way. If you look at something in isolation, you don't get the whole picture. It happens that historically, the ancient scholars, those who came before us, were encyclopedic, ulama mawsu'iyun, because in one scholar, you had several disciplines integrated. Take Galileo Galilei, for example. He was an astronomer, he was a physicist, he was an engineer, he was a polymath, okay? Many disciplines. He could integrate because he knew all the disciplines of knowledge existing. Ibn Sina was a physician, an astronomer, a philosopher. He was integrated as a scholar. But this couldn't continue. As knowledge grew and branched, specialization became necessary. You see, no one person could master more than one discipline. Even within one discipline, you cannot master the whole of it. Now, me in medicine, as I grow older, every day I know more, but about less and less and less and less because of the need to integrate, to specialize. So integration of disciplines really was lost with the too narrow specializations. I don't want to say this is necessarily a bad thing, because specialization is necessary in order to go deep. But what is the problem is to lose the spirit of integration, to lose the ability to know that the detailed specialty that I know about today must fit with the rest of the creation. This is unfortunately what got lost. And as a result, today we have got many problems that are due to lack of this sense of integration. And that's why in our societies, in our science and technology, we make an advancement in one area and create problems in other areas. You know, Some people come and say, oh, children rights. Okay, we give children their rights. But before we know it, the children are lost. They misbehave. Someone says, give women their rights. Okay, we give them their rights. But before we know it, we are losing the family. Someone says, let us make factories and industries. We succeed in that. But before you know it, we pollute the atmosphere. So loss of a sense of integration is very catastrophic because it goes against the Tawhidic paradigm of looking at everything together. Now, the concept of integration of knowledge can mean several things. So we need to define what it means. In mathematics, integration is very easy. You know, we do calculus and we integrate, no problem. But in common language, integration has got several synonyms. And in the Oxford Dictionary of the English language, all the synonyms of integration actually assume a state of disintegration to start with. Then you put things together. Like say combination, amalgamation, incorporation, unification, consolidation, things needed to be merged and fused. So to us, integration is using all the sources of knowledge, not only some, all sources of knowledge in resolving a specific problem. And this is what is called a multidisciplinary approach. And it has now become one of the main paradigms of university education, university research, that we need to have a multidisciplinary approach, because approaching through one discipline without seeing the whole integrated picture doesn't solve problems. Now, the Islamic position about integration is from Tawhid, as I motivated that from the beginning of my lecture. And actually, from the Islamic position, the original state of everything is integration. Things are integrated. But this integration may become necessary temporarily in order to understand. You need to pull things apart in order to understand the parts. But as you understand the parts, you don't forget the overall picture, الشمولية, because that's the overall picture. That's a Tawhidic view. And to digress a little bit, I'll give some examples about this integration. I have a feeling that the Islamic worldview is integrative and synthetic. Both scholars and ordinary Muslims are integrative. They look at the big picture. They look at the big result. They don't look at the parts, they look at the big picture. So we understand by putting things together and seeing the whole. In this one, we differ from the predominant European worldview, because the European mind, in my opinion, is analytic. It seeks to understand the parts, al-juz'iyat. They understand by breaking up things to understand the parts. And that's why they are very good in dealing with details. If you deal with details, you can achieve depth, because you take a small part and understand it very well. The problem is that you lose the overall picture. We don't want to go into the debate about which worldview is better, the integrative one or the analytic one. That can be for another session. Now, let me talk about the types of integration in knowledge that can happen. We can have an integrated scholar, Ali Mawsu'i. I think until now, we are trying to achieve this. Like Ibn Rushd was a polymath, a philosopher, a theologian, a physician, an astronomer, and a jurist, a faqih. When you read his book on fiqh, you can't imagine he's the physician who also wrote all that detail in medicine. So you can integrate the scholar. And I know many parents today all over the Muslim world, Allah has given me the chance to travel all around the Muslim world. And I know this. Parents try to have their children integrated. So they take them to the madrasa, and after that take them to the normal school because they want them to integrate the various sources of knowledge. That's not as easy as it is. Another form of integration is the practical one. See, there are some problems. In order to deal with them, you need to have more than one discipline, like geopolitics. You must know geography and politics, industrial psychology. So you need a multidisciplinary approach to deal with some problems. So practically, we do integrate disciplines because the problems that we deal with require that integration. Then there is integration at the level of sources of knowledge. And that's what we are coming to. That when you have got a phenomenon, there are sources of knowledge about it from various places. You want to integrate the various sources of knowledge so that you can know that phenomenon in an integrated way. Now, there is an additional level of integration, which I call Islamic integration of knowledge. And I learned this term from Professor Biraima. Everybody tries to integrate disciplines of knowledge. It makes sense to integrate because the problems we deal with are complex. You cannot solve them with one discipline. But we as Muslims, we've got an additional layer of integration that we want to integrate transmitted knowledge, ilm naqli, with empirical or rational knowledge, ilm aqli. And this is the main area where I and several colleagues are working, the Islamic integration of knowledge. Why do we have IIOK? It is because we are reacting. We are reacting to a phenomenon that has been happening in the Muslim world over the last 150 years, which is the secularization of the education system. Under the secularization, empirical knowledge became the only source of knowledge, and transmitted knowledge was put aside or was ignored. So when we talk about IIOK, we are talking about an effort, a corrective effort to come back to the original integration of knowledge. Now, so I want to say that IIOK, Islamic integration of knowledge, is reintegration of revelation, because revelation of wahi was in the knowledge, was a source of knowledge, acknowledged by everybody. But with the secularization, it was removed from epistemology. Now we want to bring it back. All of you know that ilm naqli is revealed knowledge in the Quran and Sunnah. There may be other sources of ilm naqli. I don't want to go into that. That requires another lecture. But scholars are not unanimously agreed. The only two on which we are all agreed is that ilm naqli is from Quran and Sunnah. There is also ilm aqli, which is rational knowledge. This is based on the human intellect and also human observation, experimentation. Some scholars don't agree that aql, human intellect alone, is a source of knowledge. They say it's the empirical knowledge that the human mind works on to create knowledge. But then that's another philosophical discussion that we don't want to go into. Also, I don't want to go into the discussion of the difference between ilm aqli and ilm tajribi. It's a complicated matter. Now, so IIOK is reintegration of revelation wahi into epistemology. Now, there is no essential contradiction between ilm naqli and ilm aqli. No contradiction. Science does not contradict Quran. Quran does not contradict science. If there is a contradiction, it's only apparent and can either be due to incorrect empirical observations. And I tell you, a lot of this is happening. I work in research, and I know we publish something today, and tomorrow we say, no, that wasn't correct. Actually, we keep on changing. We keep on discovering new things. So empirical observations are based on human senses, and mistakes do occur. So sometimes the apparent contradiction may be due to the empirical observations or science not being right. Or science may be right, but may be due to the human intellectual deficiency, that the human does not understand Quran and Sunnah well. They misunderstand it. But if there is correct science and correct understanding of the Wahy, there can be no contradiction. Now, I just want to make it very clear that we want to integrate both sources of knowledge, but something should be clarified. Ilm naqli, transmitted knowledge, is used exclusively in some matters, like ethics and morality. We rely on ilm naqli. We cannot use ilm aqli. There is no scientific experiment that will tell you that this is moral or immoral. So for that, we rely only on ilm naqli. Now, ilm aqli can answer issues that are of an empirical nature, but still, ilm aqli requires naqal, requires transmitted knowledge concepts to be right. And these concepts are istiqama, objectivity. See, human observation without objectivity leads to errors. Ethics, science without ethics will lead to bad technology. Purposiveness, al-gha'iyya, this is a great thing. A lot of things we do in the world today, we just do. We don't ask the question, where are we going? A lot of people, even many great scientists, may not tell you exactly al-gha'iyya, what is the end. So the end, the purpose, the greater purposes are actually from ilm, naqli. You get it from transmitted knowledge. One of these great ones are the maqasid sharia. They give you 5 great purposes to look up to. So if you don't have a sense of purpose, you may do a lot of research and actually may cause a lot of harm in the process. Now, this integrated epistemology that I'm talking about will actually help us to solve the problem of educational duality in our societies. As you know, in our societies, some children go to the traditional system where they study Quran and Sunnah. Some children go to the modern system where they study modern knowledge without Quran and Sunnah. And some have various combinations. Now, this is a duality because the two systems of education have got different worldviews, different approaches, different explanations. Many of you may not understand how much our children get confused, but then being children, they cannot work out this confusion, and maybe the parents are not even equipped to help the children understand the confusion. Me, for example, I used to go to an Islamic school in the morning, and my sheikh from Azhar was teaching me that Allah yarzuq man yasha'u bighayri hisab. Allah gives you rizq without counting. It means rizqullahi wasa'. Allah's rizq is wide and expansive. There's no limit to it. Then the English teacher in the afternoon will teach me about economics. We need economics because the resources are limited. So how can I put this together with that? Also, I had a problem. The one says that resources in the world are limited, But then I say, what is limited? Don't we have enough iron? Don't we have enough aluminium? Maybe in some places on Earth, they don't have enough, but still on this planet of ours, there are still a lot of things, and we utilize less than 1 kilometer of the Earth's crust. There are another 4,000 kilometers. Many metals are there. So what is limited? What is shortage? Okay, if we don't have enough on Mother Earth, we have got the moon. We have got the other planets all around us. We have got the other Milky Way and other things in space. So how do you put the two together? This is when you have this duality. It causes confusion and it causes a sort of intellectual schizophrenia, that the child, the mind is divided between this and between that, and they have no way of integrating the various sources of knowledge that they have. So we have been working over several years on producing teaching materials that promote IIOK, that integrate the two sources of knowledge so that our children don't get confused. I don't want to go through this slide, which is about how it is done. I've been going for a long time, but I'll just show you a few books that we published in Malaysia 2 months ago. This is on accounting. This is actually taught in the university. And the authors, we give them a grant to write these books, but on condition that they make their best attempt to combine the two sources of knowledge. They succeed to a certain extent, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Now, this is about accounting and finance. This one is about creativity and analytic thinking. Again, combining aql and naql. This is about research tradition. This is about principles of marketing from an Islamic perspective. This is about issues of gender and women and career. It's a very sensitive area because when people use only the aqli sources, it destroys our societies. You need to use both sources to understand these issues in order to preserve our societies. And this is about social linguistics, and this is about history of Arab literature. So there's another 61 books in line being prepared in Malaysia. There's another 450 in the pipeline in Bangladesh. There are books in Uganda, in Tanzania, in South Africa, in Nigeria. So all over the Muslim world, we are struggling to solve the problem of duality of knowledge, but we don't want to talk about it like I'm doing now. We want to do something about it. What is needed is to write integrated teaching materials so that as the children are taught in school or as they are taught at university, they are taught the disciplines of knowledge from an integrated perspective that has got both ilm naqli and ilm aqli. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Omar Hasan Kasule. Do you hear me, Dr. Kasule?
Yes, I hear you very well. Yeah.
I'm Shahid Rafi from Dawa Academy.
Naam.
Very, very pleasant moment to see you again after a long, long time. We all are very much thankful to you for your valuable lecture delivered by you at this time in the concluding ceremony of this ceremony. Now I invite brother Qasim from Malaysia, which is who is representing the our collaborative organization, Triple IT East and Southeast Asia, International Islamic Thought, East and Southeast Asia, Brother Shahran Qasim, to say a few words about this webinar and especially for the lecture of Dr. Omar Kasule. Brother Shahran Qasim, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. We just want to convey sincere salam from Professor Fauzan, Datuk Jamil, Prof. Aslam, and the rest of the team from East and Southeast Asia office. It has been a pleasure working with our brothers from Center for Peace and Global Studies, Islamabad, especially Brother Ehsan, Dr. Sajjad, and the rest. And we hope we can collaborate more in this creative cooperation, inshallah. So despite our sadness because of COVID, we also have this opportunity to work together creatively in this platform of Zoom and other platforms, inshallah. So thank you so much, brothers and sisters. We look forward to work together again in the next program, and inshallah with the guidance from our Professor Omar Kasule, our Secretary General, we can organize more program, more activities in the near future. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Brother Sharan. And before the concluding of this webinar, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Tahir Khalili, Professor of Psychology in International Islamic University, Malaysia, to say some words of thanks and his remarks on this webinar. Please, Professor Dr. Tahir Khalili.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much, Dr. Shahid. And I'm thankful to the Triple IT, particularly Shahran Qasim, who has organized this summer camp. But I am particularly thankful to Ehsan Malik, who did a great job, and he coordinated all this effort from the Peace and Global Studies side. I think this is our first summer camp, webinar and virtual summer camp, and I appreciate their efforts. I'm glad and I'm pleased that I had a virtual meeting with Dr. Omar Kasule after a long time, and I heard his talk and his voice. I am glad, and he has a very profound talk regarding the integration of knowledge. I think it's the need of the hour. It is the need of the 21st century to integrate the contemporary knowledge to the revealed knowledge, and through this we can solve our social problem, our day-to-day problem. I am glad it was a very pleasant moment, and I think this is first time in my experience, this is for the first time we have this virtual summer camp, and it's the end of the summer camp, but it's not the end, but we have to continue our efforts regarding the integration of knowledge, revealed knowledge, and the contemporary knowledge, that we should resolve our social problem and issues grounded in Islamic teaching, Quran and Sunnah. And we also can have a space with the current world that we can live in the 21st century. Thank you very much once again, and I'm glad to meet all of our brothers from this part of the East and Southeast Asia Triple IT efforts. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Dr. Shah.
I think one participant, Brother Bakht Buland, wants to ask some question from maybe Dr. Kasule. I think one and only question we may have. Brother Bakht Buland, if you have any question. I think he has left the webinar. Now, at the end, I will request Brother Dr. Zahiruddin Bahram of Dawa Academy International Islamic University to make dua for this webinar and the participants and for the Muslim Ummah. Brother Dr. Zahiruddin Bahram.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم
آمين.
انصر الإسلام والمسلمين.
آمين.
ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وأدخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. آمين يا رب العالمين.
Jazakumullah, all brothers and sisters. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ameen.